She walked into their 10th wedding anniversary party. No invitation, no hello, just a kid in tow. And the moment the boy's eyes scanned the room, the entire Reed family froze. No DNA test, no need for explanations. Everyone knew. The boy was the groom's son. And his wife, raising her glass in the middle of the crowd, had no idea if she was at a celebration or the front row of a 6-year-old ambush. What do you think happened? And why did that woman choose that day? To come back? You want to know who that boy really is? Stick with us. This story's about to get intense. That evening, the Reed mansion lit up like a castle straight out of a classic American movie. Caroline, Liam's mother, had planned every detail to perfection for her son and daughter-in-law's 10th anniversary. White tablecloths covered the dining tables, red wine shimmered in crystal glasses. The guests, friends, business partners, longtime neighbors, were all dressed to the nines, speaking in polite tones and sharing careful smiles. Liam Reed, successful, polished, stood in the center of the room with a light hand resting on the small of Lily Gray's back. Lily wore a deep blue dress, modest but elegant, her expression soft, with a hint of pride as she looked around. They were the picture of a perfect couple, a respected entrepreneur and a beloved college professor, admired by everyone who knew them. Caroline stepped onto the small stage, microphone in hand, ready to give her speech. And then, the front door opened. No one knew who she was, but Liam did. All too well. Mia Caldwell, once Liam's personal assistant, walked in after 6 years of complete silence. Her hair was cut short, her expression calm, and she was holding the hand of a little boy about 6 years old. He wore a white button-up shirt, simple khaki pants, a bright face, brown eyes, and a smile. A smile that made the entire room fall silent for a few seconds, because everyone had seen that smile before, on the face of Liam Reed. Caroline lowered the mic, stunned. Lily looked at Mia, then at the boy, then back at Liam. Liam didn't move. No one said a word. The only sound was the soft background music, still playing steadily as if nothing had happened. But every pair of eyes slowly turned toward the 3 figures who had just entered, drifting from the boy to Mia, then settling on Liam. The elegance of the party was now wrapped in a different kind of air. Suspicion, silence, tension, tight as a wire. Mia didn't smile. She didn't cause a scene. She walked straight up to Liam, pulled a white envelope from her handbag, and placed it in his hand. Then she looked him in the eye. No blame, no regret. Just the gaze of someone who knows it's time to do what must be done. She said softly, just loud enough for him to hear, "You should read it tonight." Then, Mia took the boy's hand, turned, and walked out, calm and deliberate, just like she'd come in. Liam looked down at the boy. Ethan, the name he softly said while holding his mother's hand, stood still, curiously scanning the room, completely unafraid. And in that brief moment, his eyes met Liam's, like a tiny mirror reflecting Liam's own face from decades ago. No one said it out loud, but everyone understood. The truth had just walked into the house and left behind an unopened envelope. Liam didn't read the envelope during the party. He slipped it into the inside pocket of his suit jacket, his expression unchanged, as if it were just another greeting card. But everyone around him could feel it. Something had cracked behind his eyes. A small fracture only those who've ever kept a secret could recognize in each other. The party went on, because no one dared be the first to break it. But the air had shifted. Handshakes turned half-hearted, laughter faded, and the wine no longer tasted sweet. Liam kept up the polite smile, but his eyes kept drifting to the empty spot where Mia and the boy had stood. That night, after everyone had left, Lily went upstairs first. She didn't ask anything, didn't accuse. She just said softly, "Can you turn off the lights downstairs for me?" Liam sat alone at the cleared dining table, soft yellow light casting quiet shadows on the wood, a silence as heavy as stone. He took the envelope from his pocket, opened it with a slow, precise slice. Inside were 2 sheets of paper. One, a copy of a DNA test. Father, Liam Edward Reed. Child, Ethan Caldwell. Result, 99.98% match. The second was a handwritten note. Short and clear, "I don't want anything but the truth, Mia." Liam let out a sigh, but it wasn't relief. It was heavy, pulled from somewhere deep in his gut, from a memory he'd locked away for 6 years. 6 years ago, Lily had undergone over a year of treatment for infertility. Hormone shots, failed IVF attempts, nights she cried silently in the bathroom. Liam had been by her side, devoted at first, but as time wore on, he felt more and more helpless, pushed to the sidelines. Lily grew cold like a shell of herself, clinging to the fragile belief that love alone could hold them together. And then, on a short business trip to Chicago, where Mia, his new assistant at the time, had come along to prep for a major presentation, everything slid off the rails. That night, the hotel was overbooked. They ended up on the same floor, in rooms right next to each other. After landing a successful deal with a client, they had a few drinks at the hotel bar. Mia didn't say much, she mostly listened. And somehow, in that quiet, in her eyes that didn't judge, Liam felt, for the first time in a long while, like he wasn't a failure. Not a broken husband. He couldn't remember who touched whom first. Just the dim lighting, the cold hotel bed, and the feeling of cramming every mistake into one night, then sealing it shut the next morning with silence. They never spoke about it again. Mia kept working as if nothing had happened. But a month later, she handed in her resignation. No explanation, no request for compensation, no goodbye messages. She vanished, as if she'd never existed, not in the company, not in his life. Liam knew he was wrong, but he told himself, if Mia had chosen to walk away, then maybe it was best to let it end there. He didn't look for her. He didn't confess to Lily. He told no one. Part of it was fear. Part of it was believing Lily had already suffered enough. And part of it, maybe the biggest part, was the hope that he could bury it. Like a tiny crack in polished marble, no one would ever notice. He never imagined Mia had gotten pregnant, and he definitely didn't expect her silence to last 6 years. Back in the present, Liam sat quietly in his study. On the desk, the DNA results and Mia's note. Next to them, a framed photo, him and Lily in Rome, their wedding year. Lily's smile in that picture made the guilt press down harder. A wife who had chosen to forgive him for a lifetime, and in return, he'd hidden a truth too deep to fix. Liam wanted to go upstairs, knock on the bedroom door, and tell Lily everything. But he wasn't sure if he still had the right. Outside the window, the dim garden lights cast long shadows across the carpet. The night was so still, he could hear the clock ticking, second by second. He didn't know what tomorrow would look like. Didn't know how Lily would see him once she knew everything. Didn't know what his son, a boy he'd never once held, would think when he learned who he really was. But one thing he knew for sure. The mask he'd worn for the past 6 years had just fallen off, and there was no way to pick it back up without leaving a mark. Upstairs, Lily wasn't asleep. She hadn't touched her phone, she hadn't cried, she hadn't asked Liam a single question since the party. Just silence, thick as a brick wall, stretched between them. The bedroom, once familiar, now felt foreign. Her bedside lamp stayed off. Only a faint glow from the hallway slipped in through the crack beneath the door. Liam stepped into the room like a man lost. His hands hung by his sides, eyes red but dry. He stood in the doorway for a few seconds as if waiting for her to say his name. But Lily just sat there, back straight, eyes fixed on the floor, no trembling in her shoulders, no rise in her voice. "That child is yours." It wasn't a question, it was the truth, dropped like a stone onto still water. No ripple, just weight. Liam didn't deny it, didn't make excuses. He opened his mouth, maybe to explain, maybe to apologize, but she raised a hand and cut him off. "Don't." Just one word, and it sucked the warmth out of the air. Lily stood up, walked to the closet, and pulled out a small overnight bag. She packed a few changes of clothes, her wallet, her car keys, and walked past Liam like someone stepping out of fire. No glance back. At the door, she turned once, for the last time that night. "I don't know what's worse, that you cheated on me, or that you had a child with someone else while I was still believing I was the only one fighting for this family." The door closed. Liam stood frozen, statue still. The room lost its heat. The pillows were cold, and the space beside him in bed was empty. Lily drove straight to her mother's house, an old place out in the suburbs, nearly 20 miles from the Reed estate. She didn't say much when she arrived, just that she needed time. Her mother didn't ask. She just boiled water, left a cup of tea on the table, and quietly went upstairs. That first night, Lily lay on the same old bed from her teenage years, staring at the ceiling like it was a void. Her mind spun with overlapping memories. The failed ultrasounds, the doctor's look when he said the eggs weren't releasing, The nights she curled up in pain after another round of hormone shots, and Liam's voice saying, "It's okay. We'll try again." She had clung to that we like it was the only anchor in the storm. But it turned out, the person who was supposed to be holding that anchor had already jumped ship long ago. She remembered the night he came back from Chicago 6 years ago. He looked tired, but still brought her chocolates and a small pair of earrings. She thought that was love. Now, looking back, it was guilt, gift-wrapped. Everything in her marriage, every memory, every vow, every hand held, suddenly felt stripped of meaning, like a beautiful porcelain vase that had been cracked inside for years. Now it had finally shattered. 3 days passed. Liam still hadn't called. She didn't text. Between them was a thick, unmoving silence, and neither was willing to be the first to step across it. Each morning, Lily woke up with the same question: can I forgive him? But right after that came another. Do I actually want to forgive? Or do I just want to believe none of this ever happened? Lily wasn't the kind of woman who forgave easily. She taught her students about ethics, honesty, the value of commitment. But now the one person she had trusted completely, had believed in without doubt, was the one who shattered all of that. No confession. No warning signs. Just a quiet betrayal that rewrote everything she thought she knew. What hurt the most wasn't the child. Lily didn't feel anger toward the boy. In fact, his innocent eyes struck something deep in her. A strange, aching tenderness. She saw in him all the children she would never have, stolen, in a way, by lies. It was a double betrayal, not just of her body, but of the entire journey she had endured alone. While she injected herself with hormones, survived emotional crashes, swallowed tears with every failure, he had chosen to sleep with someone else, and then carried on as if nothing ever happened. Maybe Liam felt guilty. Maybe he kept it secret to spare her more pain. But the truth remained. He chose to hide it, and that choice, that's what cut the deepest. On the 4th night, Lily sat by the window. It was raining outside. She sipped her tea. No sugar, no milk. The bitterness kept her clear. Her mother stepped into the room and quietly left a small note on the table. "If you need to talk, I'm awake." Lily folded the note without opening it, but even that small gesture made her throat tighten. She cried, for the first time since the party, not with sobs, just tears, slow and heavy, falling like clots of something too long held in. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Didn't know if forgiveness was even possible. But one thing she did know. From this moment on, the choice was hers. Not shaped by anyone's mistakes, not swayed by anyone's attempts to fix it. This was about her. And what she needed to know. Whether the love they once shared still had the strength to heal a wound this deep. And if it didn't, she would bandage it herself. Heal on her own. No one else required. Liam hadn't slept since the night Lily left. The house was missing the sound of her slippers, the smell of morning coffee, and the familiar eyes across the breakfast table. Everything was quiet, eerily quiet, but not peaceful. He hadn't tried to contact her. Partly because he knew she wasn't ready, and partly because he wasn't sure how to face himself yet. The next morning, his phone buzzed on the table. A single message lit up the screen, short, no punctuation. "Come to Mom's, now." Caroline Reed wasn't one for small talk. She ran the Reed family like a CEO, once helming her own investment fund before handing it off to her son. The thing she hated most, chaos. And right now, Liam's marriage, once her pride, was at the center of an uninvited scandal. When Liam arrived, she didn't greet him, didn't offer a seat, just slid an envelope across the table. Her address. "I tracked her down. I'll handle this before the press gets wind of it." Liam looked at the envelope, then at his mother. He knew exactly what "handle it" meant in Caroline's language. She went on, voice calm and steady. "This isn't about feelings. It's about family, reputation, the share value of Reed Group. You can't let some woman show up at a family event, claim she has your child, and do nothing." Liam clenched his fists. "What do you want me to do?" "Simple. Give her some money. In return, she disappears. She clearly doesn't want drama. You saw how she behaved. All she needs is one more nudge out the door." That afternoon, Caroline showed up at Mia's apartment herself, a modest building far from the city center. No warning. Mia answered the door, slightly surprised but not shocked. "Come in," she said, calm, almost polite. The apartment was small, tidy, a little cold. In the background, the faint clatter of children's toys echoed from another room. Ethan wasn't home. Caroline set her bag on the table, unzipped it. Inside, a neatly stacked bundle of cash, along with a sealed envelope. $100,000 and a plane ticket, anywhere you want. I think you're smart enough to understand this is the gentlest option for everyone. Mia didn't touch the money. She looked at Caroline like someone who'd just finished rereading an old chapter. I'm not after a title, she said. Then what do you want? Accountability. Caroline let out a dry laugh. Responsibility doesn't exist in the legal system unless someone files a case. You raised that child alone for 6 years. No one knew a thing. And now you choose to show up at my son's 10th anniversary party? What exactly are you after? Mia walked to the fridge, poured herself a glass of water. She didn't offer any to Caroline. She didn't dodge the question, but she didn't rush to answer it either. I raised my son alone. Never called Liam. Never took a dime. Never said a word about his father. But now Ethan's asking. He wants to know why his friends have dads and he doesn't. Why no one but me ever shows up to parent-teacher meetings. And I won't lie to my son. Caroline folded her arms. He's a child. He doesn't need to know. Mia met her eyes. And Liam, he doesn't need to know he has a child? Caroline didn't answer. Mia continued, her voice steady. I don't want Ethan used as leverage. I don't want him growing up in lies. If Liam chooses to walk away, I'll accept that. But he deserves to know, and so does my son. Caroline picked up the money, zipped the bag shut, her face unreadable. She stood, adjusted her coat. You're disrupting a family, she said, and you know that. Mia nodded, but not as much as living a lie does. On the drive home, Caroline didn't call Liam. She sat silently in the car, thinking. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar, a loss of control. 3 days later, she invited Liam to dinner, just the two of them. A simple meal, no small talk. After the main course, she set her utensils down and spoke slowly. This situation with that woman, you need to end it. I know, Liam said. End it means protect your family. Keep Lily, I'll take care of the rest. Liam wiped his mouth, set the napkin aside. I will keep Lily, but I'll also keep my son. Caroline looked up. Your son? Ethan. A child with no legal claim to you, unless you acknowledge him. Do you understand what happens if you make that public? Liam nodded. I do. But if you're asking what I choose, then this time, I'm choosing what's right. For the first time in his life, Liam looked his mother straight in the eyes. No fear, no deflection, no obedient mask. Caroline didn't say another word. She poured herself more wine, lifted her glass, no toast, no clink. Then handle your part. I'm out. Liam nodded. He knew her words weren't surrender, they were a warning. But he wasn't afraid. What he felt was clarity. If the truth had already stepped into his life, he wasn't going to turn away from it just to protect his image. And for the first time, he wasn't Caroline's son. He was Ethan's father. Liam didn't call Lily, but he did text Mia. A short message, no polish, no pretense. I want to see Ethan. No one else, not her, not my mother, just the three of us. Mia agreed. She didn't ask questions. 3 days later, they met at a small park on the south side of the city. A quiet place with a man-made lake, a few benches beneath old trees, and a colorful play area for kids. Ethan wore a gray sweater, his hair neatly trimmed, holding a small red toy car in one hand. He didn't run around, didn't hide behind his mother like most kids might when meeting a stranger. He just stood there, still, steady, studying Liam like he was reviewing an unfinished assignment. Liam sat down on a bench and reached out his hand. Hi, Ethan. I'm Liam. Ethan didn't shake it, but he nodded. Mom said you're my dad. Liam's throat tightened. He'd rehearsed for this moment, but hearing it from the boy's mouth, so plain, so direct, felt like being stripped bare. Yeah, I'm your dad. Ethan didn't ask anything else. He sat down beside Liam, pulled out his toy car, and started playing. Still keeping about half a meter of distance. Polite, well-behaved, but distant, like he was meeting a new teacher and wasn't sure yet if the guy was worth trusting. Mia sat on the nearby bench, watching but not interfering. Liam understood. If there was going to be a second chance, it had to come from him, not from anyone stepping in. After about 15 minutes, Mia checked her watch. I've got an appointment. You two stay here. I'll circle back soon. Liam nodded. Ethan didn't object. Once she disappeared behind the trees, Liam reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small package. I brought you cookies. Chocolate chip. Your mom said you liked them. Ethan looked at the pack. He didn't take it right away. I don't eat stuff from strangers. The words hit Liam like a jolt, and for a few seconds he froze. Then he smiled. You're right. That's smart. Ethan looked at him. But if you come a second time, then maybe you won't be a stranger anymore. Liam let out a laugh, soft, sharp-edged, almost painful. And at that exact moment, on the path around the lake, Lily appeared. She wasn't looking for them. She was just walking, returning to an old habit, this park she used to stroll through every Sunday afternoon before everything came undone. And then she saw them, Liam, sitting on the bench, and beside him the boy she'd seen at the anniversary party. Her heart skipped a beat. She started to turn away. But Ethan saw her first, and waved like he recognized someone familiar. Miss Lily. The words rang out clear, innocent, and not quite right, but enough to stop Lily in her tracks. She turned slowly. Liam had seen her too. He stood, but said nothing. Ethan ran over. I saw you at the party. You're as pretty as my mom said. Lily bent down slightly, smiling. Hi there. I'm not a teacher, but you can call me Lily. Ethan nodded. Then out of nowhere he gently took her hand. Are you sad? The question made Lily freeze. Ethan didn't look at her when he asked. He stared at the ground, his small hand still holding hers, like he was trying to feel her heartbeat through her fingers. I saw you were sad at the party, he said quietly. Mom says sad people need someone to tell them the truth. Lily felt the tears rise, not loud, not dramatic, just a raw, human reflex. A 6-year-old boy, the child of the man who had betrayed her, was the first to touch the softest part of her with a question she wasn't ready for. She knelt down and wrapped Ethan in a gentle hug. She didn't say a word, just nodded. Ethan didn't press further. He gave her hand one last light squeeze, then walked back to the bench, like he'd just completed a mission assigned by his own heart. Liam stayed quiet. He didn't step in, didn't try to explain, didn't apologize. Lily stood, dabbing her face with a tissue. You told him to say that? Liam shook his head. No, he just says what he feels. She looked at Ethan once more, watching him carefully peel open the pack of cookies he'd finally accepted. Thanks for not teaching him to lie. Then she turned to leave. No more words. But this time, she didn't walk away like someone frozen in place. Something had softened, just a little. A crack in the wall she'd built. A few days later, Lily received a letter, hand-drawn, scribbled with colored markers. Miss Lily, I liked seeing you at the park. Will you come again next time? No name at the bottom, but the handwriting and the little toy car sticker in the corner told her exactly who it was from. She placed the letter in her desk drawer, didn't reply. But that night, she took out a small box she'd kept hidden for years. Inside were a few ultrasound photos she had never gotten to share as good news. She didn't cry. She simply looked at them in silence, then closed the box again. And this time, she didn't lock it. 3 weeks after the park meeting, Liam got a call from an unknown number. On the other end, a doctor's voice, low, gentle, careful. Mr. Reed, Mia Caldwell listed you as her emergency contact. We need you to come in person. The hospital was in a district on the outskirts of town. Oncology wing. When Liam arrived, Mia was sitting alone in the waiting room. She looked thinner, her shoulders sharp beneath her light coat. She looked calm, but it was the calm of someone who had already moved through fear. She didn't look up right away. Only after a few seconds, when she heard the scrape of his chair, did she speak. You know now? Liam nodded. Not everything, but the doctor said, enough for me to know something's wrong. Mia turned to face him, her eyes steady. Pancreatic cancer. Terminal stage. No curative options left. Now it's just pain management and maybe a little more time, if I'm lucky. No tears, no drama. Just the truth, spoken plainly, cleanly. Liam clenched his fists. He wanted to ask why she hadn't told him sooner, but he already knew the answer. Mia had never been the kind to beg or burden anyone. I didn't come back, she continued, as if reading his thoughts, to ask for anything for myself. I came back because of Ethan. He needs someone when I'm no longer here. Liam's throat tightened. He stared at the floor, trying to steady his breathing. The guilt came fast. For the years he hadn't been there, for telling himself the past was done, and for how even now, days later, he still hadn't fully stepped into the role of being a father. Mia reached into her bag and pulled out a thin folder. She placed it in front of him. Guardianship transfer papers. I've already signed. It needs your signature, and one more. Someone Ethan might one day call Mom if you want that. Liam looked up. Lily? Mia gave a small nod. He likes her. I saw it, and I believe Lily isn't the kind of woman who acts out of spite. The words hit Liam hard. He didn't know if Lily would agree. He didn't even know if he was strong enough to raise Ethan on his own, especially now with so much unraveling at once. They didn't say anything else. Liam took the folder and walked out of the hospital like a man carrying a storm inside his coat. That night, Liam went to see Lily. She didn't turn him away, but she didn't invite him in either. They spoke on the front steps of her mother's house. The air was cold, the moon a thin slice overhead. You need to know this, Liam said, because it's not just about me anymore. He told her everything. No edits, no begging, just the truth, raw and whole. Lily listened without interrupting, and when he finished she was still silent, her eyes locked on his as if trying to scan for any last trace of a lie hiding in the seams. How long, she asked. The doctor said a few months, maybe less. Lily leaned back against the door. Her hands were clasped together steady, but something behind her eyes darkened, shifted. And what do you want from me? Liam didn't answer right away. He let the silence stretch, let it settle. Then finally, he spoke, slow, careful. I'm not here to pressure you, but if you could be there for Ethan, not for me, for him, I think you're the only person he could ever call safe when his mom's no longer here. Lily didn't respond. She turned and went inside. 5 minutes later, she came back out, coat in hand. I'll go see her. The next day, Lily went to the hospital alone. Mia was hooked up to an IV, eyes half closed. When she heard the door open, she looked up. Lily Gray, Mia said, unsurprised. No need for pleasantries, Lily replied. I'm not here to make nice. Even better. Lily sat in the chair beside the bed. She looked at the woman in front of her, once the shadow cast over her marriage, now a mother preparing to leave her child behind. I won't apologize for hating you, but I can't deny one thing. Your son deserves someone who stays. Mia gave a tired smile. I never expected your forgiveness. Lily's eyes fell on the folder sitting next to the glass of water. If I sign that, Ethan will live with us? No, with Liam. But if you're there, I'll feel better about going. There was a pause before Lily asked, why no one else? No relatives, no friends? Mia shook her head. I cut ties a long time ago because I thought I could do it alone, and because I chose to be a mother on my own. I need to end that journey with the right decision. Lily took a deep breath. I'm not ready to be a mom, especially not his child's mom. You don't need to be a mom, Mia said quietly. Just be Lily. Lily said nothing more, but when she left, the folder was in her hands. That night, Liam got a message. A child is innocent, but an adult has to be brave enough not to punish them for someone else's mistake. I'll try. 1 week later, Lily returned to the hospital. Mia was no longer sitting up like the last time. She lay back in bed, propped up by pillows, her skin pale, breath coming in short waves. The doctor had said her liver was failing. The time left was now measured in days, not weeks. Lily walked in without knocking. No flowers, no milk or soft words of comfort, just an embrace. She didn't say a thing. She leaned down and wrapped her arms around the woman waiting to die, and for the first time, let herself soften, not out of pity, but out of understanding. The hug wasn't long, but Mia cried, silently, no sobs, like someone finally allowed to let go. Thank you, Mia whispered. Lily only nodded, then pulled up a chair and sat beside her. I wrote to Ethan, Mia said, her voice thin, breaking. A letter. I left it in his toy box. In case he asks about me, I've already written the answer. What did you write? Mia gave a faint smile. If he asks about me, I said, your dad chose to stay. Lily turned to the window. The sky was clear, bright blue, a heartbreakingly beautiful day. And the woman who had entered her life through betrayal was now leaving it with courage. 3 days later, Mia Caldwell passed away. No grand funeral, no wailing relatives. Just a quiet farewell with Liam, Lily, and Ethan. The boy didn't cry out. He simply held his stuffed dinosaur tight, standing still beside his mother's photo. After that day, Ethan moved into Liam's home. The mansion had been softened a little. The living room less cold, a small bed added to the guest room. Lily didn't move in right away, but she came every morning, stayed until nightfall. At first, everything felt awkward. Ethan didn't call her anything special. Just Miss Lily. Not wrong, not close. Lily didn't push it. She just showed up on time, made pancakes exactly the way Mia used to, read from the same storybooks Ethan already knew by heart. One night, Ethan said, "Mom used to read this one too, but she didn't do the dinosaur voice like you." Lily smiled. "So that's 1 point for me." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, but you don't know how to do hair. Mom did." I'll learn." He studied her for a moment. "Are you sad being here?" "I was at first. What about now?" Lily didn't answer right away. She gently ran her hand through Ethan's hair. "Right now, I'm learning how to be happy again." Liam didn't rush anything. He didn't beg for forgiveness, didn't bring up the past, didn't try to fix things with flowers or sweet words. He simply showed up, on time for breakfast, on time for school pickup, on time for silence when that's what was needed. One day, Ethan asked, "Do you still love Miss Lily?" Liam looked at his son and replied, "I love the way she listens. I love the way she smiles after being sad. And I'll love her, whether she stays or not." Ethan nodded, satisfied, then went back to building his Lego spaceship. They weren't a perfect family. Lily still kept her distance, slept in a separate room, kept her own schedule, never called Liam husband when others were around. But in the quiet details, change was quietly taking root. Ethan started asking her to brush his hair, started wondering, "Is Miss Lily reading tonight?" And once, he slipped up and called her mom, then quickly apologized, flustered. Lily didn't correct him. She just said, "As long as you feel safe, you can call me whatever you want." That night, Liam was washing dishes. Lily stood beside him drying plates. They didn't say much, but for one brief moment their eyes met. No anger, no resentment, no sweeping romance, just an understanding. They were both still trying. And that, more than anything, was the truest thing they had. A family, not built by plan, not defined by right or wrong, but by each person choosing day after day to stay, even when they could have walked away. Some love stories don't begin with love, they begin with mistakes. But what makes this one unforgettable is how 3 grown people chose to end it. None of them were entirely innocent. None of them completely right. Liam betrayed, Mia stayed silent for too long, and Lily, the one hurt the most, could have chosen anger. But instead of fighting, blaming, or dragging each other to the edge, they each chose something quieter: to admit, to take responsibility, and to let go. Mia didn't cling. She let go of her son, not to punish anyone, but to give him a life rooted in truth and love. Liam didn't justify. He didn't beg for forgiveness with tears or promises. He simply did the right thing, day by day, quietly. And Lily? She didn't forget what was lost. But she chose not to lose more. Not a child, not a second chance, not the version of herself that could be stronger and more compassionate. They didn't find peace because this was a fairy tale. They found peace because each of them understood something simple and deeply human. Some wounds can't be fixed by winning, only by kindness. Not to erase the pain, but to make room for healing. And I believe that in today's loud, chaotic world, the greatest act of humanity isn't in fancy words or perfect endings. It's in this: someone choosing to take a step back, so someone else can breathe a little easier. What do you think? If you were Lily, would you be brave enough to forgive? If you were Liam, would you choose responsibility over reputation? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more real stories, raw, layered, and hard to forget, hit subscribe on Love Stories so you never miss the moments that cut closest to the heart. Thank you for staying until the very end.